I think we are.
All right, we're being live streamed. Got it. So, all right then, let's call the meeting to order. The Court Facility Standards Committee, it's 1 o'clock Central Time. Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Absolutely. Chief Justice John D. Minton Jr.,
Here.
the AOC Director or Designee Lori K. Gibbons, the President of the Circuit Clerks Association, Linda Avery, the Chairperson of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Whitney Westerfield, the Chairperson of the House Judiciary Committee, Ed Massey, the Secretary of the Finance and Administration Cabinet or Designee, Libby Carlin, Court of Appeals Judge appointed by Supreme Court, Allison Jones, Circuit Court Judge appointed by Supreme Court, John T. Alexander,
Here.
District Court Judge appointed by the Supreme Court, Amy S. Anderson, County Judge Executive appointed by the Governor, Todd Mansfield.
Here.
And that is the end of the roll call. There is not currently a quorum present.
All right, we call the meeting to order and we don't have a quorum. I guess we could delay a minute or two to see if we're going to have a quorum to do business. Some of you have texts. Why don't we text these members who are absent, see if they're going to show up?
Danielle, did we have 4? Is it? Did I count that correct?
Yes, you did.
Corky, Lori just asked me if there were 2 meeting invitations.
There were 2.
Yeah, so I'd send an invitation through Outlook that I think everyone had accepted, and I've also sent it out, the link via email.
I only have one, Danny, that I have on my calendar. There's only one.
Laurie is saying there's a group of them that are on the Teams meeting.
Mhm.
So we
Yeah,
just need to try to get them over in this meeting.
Yeah, the Zoom link is in the invitation body. So if they click on that,
So there's another simultaneously going on.
yeah.
All right.
Now that's the challenging part of using Outlook to send a Zoom invitation is that it wants to make it a Teams meeting.
I actually got a Teams thing popped up on my screen. I guess if I'd known what to do with it, I'd be on Teams instead of Zoom, but I didn't know what to do with it, so I ignored it.
Looks like we've got some that are joining now. So
Okay. Good. There's Judge Anderson. All right, Danielle, we're getting close.
All right, that looks a little bit more like it, guys. We were just the 6 of us in another Teams room.
Ah, all right, now let's see, Danielle, we've had Judge Anderson has joined us and Director Gibbons has joined us.
So Judge West was on Teams with us. Sam was on. Phil was on. Judge Maddox is here. I'm trying to
Yeah.
see if we got it, if everybody else was able to cross over. Danny, we still don't have Judge West. And we still don't have Sam or Phil.
Corky, if you could just send an email, not an invitation, with the Zoom link.
And Danny, I'm gonna pop over into Teams and see if anybody's left in there.
Okay.
Tell him, thanks, Jenny. Just ask them to check their email.
Who else was it, Danny, besides Judge West, that you thought may benefit from an email?
Lori, who were the other participants?
At Judge West, we had Sam. And then we had Phil, and I apologize because Phil's last name didn't open completely. But Sam from Trace Creek, and then
That's Phil Schulfarth, Center Carroll. I've just sent him an updated link.
okay, thank you, Monica.
Danielle, are you able to monitor here? Do we have a quorum yet?
I think we do, Chief.
All right, then. All right, Danielle, let me ask you this. Can you verify for the purpose of the record that we have a quorum so that we may proceed?
Yes, we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. You have received in your materials the agenda for today's meeting, and we propose to follow that agenda. If you would adopt that agenda for the meeting, raise the hand. All right, we've adopted this agenda. We'll proceed then. First item would be the approval of the minutes from April 26, 2022. You've received that in your pre-meeting materials. I hope you've had a chance to read them. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, motion, second.
I'll second.
All right, motion is second. If you would approve the minutes of the April 26, 2022 meeting, raise the hand. Opposed? All right, it's done. All right, then, we have, first item would be the presentation of the Scott County Judicial Center project. So, Danny, I'm gonna turn this over to you.
Okay. We have Judge Joe Pat Covington, County Judge Executive, as well as other members of the Scott County PDB on the Zoom with us. Also, Brandstetter Carroll. We have Monica Sumner. I believe she's got other representatives that are joining her. Monica will actually be presenting for both Scott County and Jessamine County.
Okay,
As Branstair Carroll is the project architect on both of those. I'll go ahead and let Judge Covington give some general comments regarding the project and what the board's view of this project is at this point.
okay. Before we do that, Danny, just for our record, so that it's complete, those who will be appearing on behalf of the Scott County project, if you'd let us know who you are for our minutes, please.
Joe Pat Covington, County Judge Executive and Chair of the Project Development Board.
Good, welcome, Judge.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Who else?
I'm Glenn Williams. I'm the local attorney appointed to the PDB.
Glenn, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you,
Cam
Brian.
Culbertson. I'm the Scott County attorney.
All right, Cam. Others?
Tina Foster. I'm the Scott Circuit Clerk.
Tina, good to have you.
And I'm Jeremy Maddox. I'm the Chief Circuit Judge and the Vice Chair of the Project Development Board. And I'm not actually presenting, but I'm just to observe.
Good, thank you. Anyone else?
Judge Mary Jane Phelps, District Judge and a current member of the Scott County Board through the end of the year. And I'm not presenting, but I'm here in support.
Good, thank you. Welcome, Judge. Any others? Even if you're not presenting, if you're here on behalf of this project, you're welcome to identify yourself.
Chief, this is Sam Howard with Trace Creek. Josh Schuster is also on. Josh will be doing the actual presentation. I will be here for any question or snide remarks.
Oh, good. We'll look forward to that. Thank you, Sam.
Chief RJ
Yes.
Palmer with Compass Municipal Advisors, the financial advisor for the Scott County project.
Good to see you, RJ.
Thank
Welcome.
you, Chief.
All right, then. I interrupted the presentation, Danny. Go ahead.
Danny, I'll
Fine.
take it from
It's
here.
fine.
if you'd like me to.
That sounds good, Judge.
Chief Justice and committee members, on behalf of our community, our citizens, our Scott County Fiscal Court and our Project Development Board, we are very grateful to be here with you today. And at this point in the process, Scott County is one of our fastest growing communities and counties in the state. And this project is going to help meet the needs of the justice system in our community for many, many years to come. We worked very hard through the site selection and procurement process to identify the site that best matches the needs of our program documents for this facility. The site is located on Broadway, main public road running north to south in downtown Georgetown. The site is 1 block from the current Justice Center and 1 block from the intersection of Main Street and Broadway. The location will assure that the center of our community will maintain a judicial presence and accessibility for all citizens. PDB's completed the procurement of 13 different parcels with 10 different owners at this site, and we are navigating condemnation proceedings with 1 additional owner. Through this process, we've looked at a variety of different sites, but kept coming back to this site because it best met the needs of the community and matched the needs of the program documents. And like I said, we are grateful for the support of this project, and we are confident that it will meet the needs of the justice system and our community for many, many years. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Good, Judge. Questions for Judge Covington? All right, none yet. None yet.
Thank goodness.
Thank you, Judge. All right. Who's going to show us more, Danny?
I think next up should be Monica to do.
Unmute.
All right, Monica. Are we going to have these documents that have been sent to us going to be on the screen so we can see them?
Yes.
All right, good. All right, Monica, you may proceed. And you're on mute.
Okay.
All right.
I have a assistant in my office, so if you see me mumbling to someone, it's Jennifer Wood, who's been supporting these projects, and so she's running our technology today, and so I'm thankful for her help.
Thanks.
So I can focus on presenting. So what you have in front of you is a comparison document of program requirements that were issued with the project by the AOC, and that is represented in the allotment column if you'll look across the top of that graph. So the allotment column is the allocated square footage per the AOC guideline, and the provided column is just that, what we are providing. So we tend to do this along with our project development board members so we can get an actual space summary comparison, and we can then highlight areas of under or over as we update the document monthly. So this goes in the order of the AOC presented guideline. The colors don't mean so much to you on the screen at this moment, but they are color matched to the floor plan document. So if you were to look at these documents side by side, the program with the floor plans, your eyes could easily then discern the areas very quickly. So I'm not going to read this line by line, but we will just summarize the areas. The jury trial courtroom or the circuit courtroom number 1, you see the total summarized there. They're very close. We then go into circuit courtroom number 2. And let's see, that summary then is at the top of the page. It's a little bit less. We have district court noted in the pink areas, and all of the jury accommodations, attorney-client rooms, victim witness waiting rooms, everything is accounted for as per the guideline document. We are noting in the comments column if there are any shared spaces, such as in this district court number 2, you'll see the attorney-prisoner interview and the prisoner holding cell rooms are shared with district court number 1. And those spaces are co-located in between the 2 courtrooms. And the district court efforts led by Judge Phelps, we've talked about all these with her, and she and her colleagues are amenable to these shared spaces. District court number 2 totaling there is a little bit less because of the shared spaces with district court number 1. Let's go ahead and look at the green areas then, which is the non-jury trial courtrooms, presumably for the family courtroom and to be used as a hearing room. We've got those rooms noted. In the allocated guideline document, there was 1 family courtroom. And in very early conversations with Judge Jeremy Maddox, he recommended that we have a 2nd family courtroom. And we moved through the process to do that, and we have added that here in this document. Okay. Continuing with the green, so we have an allocated non-jury trial square footage of just over 2,200 square feet, where we are actually providing in our plan 5,500 square feet. So that was a significant overage that we've navigated and sacrificed and compromised some other spaces to allow that to happen. We've accounted for grand jury spaces seen in the blue. And then we go into the judges' chambers. We're very closely meeting those guidelines, but just a little bit shy because we've had some situations where judges have volunteered to share conference rooms and whatnot, and we've worked through those spaces ad nauseum. Go to the next page. All right. Then we complete the judges' areas with the family court judges suite. And again, we're over there, nearly doubling that allocation due to the foreseeable future where a 2nd family court judge will be added. Shared areas are noted and conference spaces. Thank you. As such, the dark gray areas, then we move into the prisoner handling facilities. security personnel, vehicular sally port, and so on, and court security areas. The blue color on the page represents the circuit court clerk areas, and we have met with Ms. Foster and her staff several times, and we'll do so more as we get into the details actually of the work. But her space allocation is very similar to the allotted square footage. The support areas or court-wide services, or statewide services rather, those are noted in the tan color. And we have reduced those quite a bit as in working through issues with the PDB under their recommendation. We have consolidated those spaces quite a bit, getting us to the next page. We're a little bit under, from 3,500 in the allotment to 2,299 in the provided column, noting some shared spaces there in the comments section. Facility support then gets into restrooms and loading areas and storage and so on. We've noted public restrooms, and the factored areas then account for the thicknesses of walls, circulation spaces, parking areas, and so on as noted. So our total net square footage in the allotment category is 65,000 square feet. Now that really should be the gross. The total allotted square footage for the project is 65,131. Our net square footage comes in close to that number at 65,415. When we add in the circulation and the thicknesses of walls, and some of those factored areas, we're just shy of 70,000 at 69,110. Would you all like to have any conversation about the program, or would you prefer us to continue on with design conversation?
All right, any questions you were asking, I guess, Monica, if we have questions about what you just talked about in terms of the program space?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If anyone would like to discuss the programmatic elements, we could do that now, or I could continue and just wait to the end, whatever your preference might be.
All right, I'm not, I'm sure somebody will know how to speak up if you have a question for Monica, but otherwise, Monica, why don't you just go ahead and show us what comes next?
Will do. Thank you. So this is a site plan. This is a snapshot, if you will, of a 3D model. And we're going to be showing you a flyover of the project momentarily. But this shows North Broadway Street on the right-hand side of that page. There's a large public parking lot directly across the street. So that should serve the project nicely as well. We have a plaza in the front of the along between Broadway and the building. The building has a significant setback, which is appropriate as we reflect upon justice and government buildings from the past. A nice setback distinguishes our courthouses from business. So we have appropriately cited the building likewise here. So the large oval thing in the middle of that plaza would be some brick patterns or some colored concrete or some such way to distinguish that area with some benches and plants and flagpoles and nice appropriate site amenities. So we have a new Justice Center labeled there right in the middle of the site. And then you see parking around the back along North Water Street. And that is, we've differentiated the staff parking from the public parking as noted. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the floor plans. So this is a basement building, if you will. The top of your page is the back or the lower side of the building. The front of the building faces the bottom of the page or the front of the building. So about half of our basement level is planned to be unexcavated. We don't need the square footage. We're just allowing the Sallyport parking to be under the back of the building, which would be out of grade, if you will, because the site has a nice slope to it. All of the gray shaded areas are the Sallyport and prisoner handling and cells and that kind of thing. which we can get people in the basement and then move them up to the first floor. The little squares that you're seeing along the back, Jennifer, will your cursor point to that? Those are parking garages for the elected officials. So your judges and clerk will park there. And those are different vehicle sizes that we've sketched in there just to show the fit of those parking bays.
Monica, it's Laurie, I'm sorry. And I appreciate the hovering over with the arrows. That really helps because I'm not able to read this. I'm not sure if anybody else can. We may not be able to get it any larger, but I didn't know, what are the green, kind of greenish teal shaded areas?
Those are storage areas.
Storage. And then the gray, what is the gray? I'm sorry.
Those are prisoner handling areas.
Okay, all of that is. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. Now, if even at a later date, if you wish to review this, the program document that was just reviewed, that's color coded, that document coincides with the colors on these plans.
Got it.
To try and make that easier to follow.
No, that's okay. I understood it when you said it by the numbers, but just again, without having it right here, I couldn't remember what was what.
No problem.
And I have one question. Is that back door next to the evidence storage room in greenish blue, is that the employee entrance?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
And the employee parking lot is directly behind that. Let's look at that site plan, Jennifer, and point to us. There we go. So that's the Sallyport entrance, and put your hand where the staff entrance is, right there. And then the staff parking is directly behind that. Yes, right there. So the staff entrance and parking is all on that side of the building. We do have the Sallyport enters in the middle back. Yes, right there. And then more elected official parking right there. Yes.
One thing I noticed, which I think is just an oversight, is there's not a door from the right-handed elected officials parking into that hallway. On the other side.
Okay, it's right there.
On the other side. The other.
Yes, correct.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Thank you. No, it's not a problem. There would be a door that mirrors the other side right into that staff hallway. Yes. And then the building is kind of divided into halves, which we'll see that when we go to the first floor. So we have stairs on both sides of the building for staff. So Jennifer, point to the right-hand staff stairway. So that's a staff stair and elevator. And then over on the other side of the building is a staff stair and elevator. So we have two banks of parking that are directly underneath their appropriate courtrooms, and they come on up through the building that way. Okay. So let's enter the front door, and I'm just going to continue to ask Jennifer to move her hand. There you go. So we have two entrance doors in the front just to get people into the two security checkpoints. So during busy times, we can get people in. So that little gray area is just circulation space or security space that is accounted for on the other document. So straight ahead from the security checkpoint, folks can find the stair in the middle, or over to the right, a bank of elevators. Right. The clerk is in the green area, so people can easily find them to the right of entering in. We have a counter, all the workstations, records review, records, all of the things that we've worked through with Ms. Foster. And let's go on up to the top of the green area there, Jennifer. We've got a staff break area and the staff restrooms for the clerk staff, coat racks, and all the things that try to make their day better in their work environment. Let's look at the pink areas, which is representing the district court. So district court is located, all of those pink colored areas are support for district. So we have two large courtrooms. Those are easy for your eye to see just because of the seating and the benches. The holding areas are in between the two, so they can have direct access into the courtrooms. Those holding areas are accessed from the lower level, as we just saw. It comes straight up into that space. The pink areas to the left of that, along the side of the building, those are chambers and jury quarters. So we have one chamber there where the hand is now, and then up at the top, yes, thank you, another chamber area that supports the other courtroom. And the jury meeting spaces and restrooms are in between the two. We do have a judge's staff break room between the stair and that jury room right there. Yeah. And then the stair is right behind that there then. So you can presumably get out of your vehicle. If this is your office space, come on up and get your coffee, put your things away, and get to it. The pale yellow area, also accessed off of the lobby, is pretrial services. And so that's located adjacent to the district court on the first floor and accessed from the main lobby. We have
Monica,
yes.
it's Laurie. I don't know, and I know that folks, probably many of them don't know on the call, but I know this PDB is painfully aware. You guys had to work really hard to reduce the square footage to bring it within the program requirements, and we certainly appreciate that. I know one of the spaces where we really reduced was a lot of our statewide program space. Can you remind me, because I can't remember from the first presentation, how many total square feet are in the pretrial offices? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Sorry.
That is okay. I only have the allocated program in my hand, not the, okay.
No, you're fine.
Let's take a look at the screen here together. There's pretrial services noted. We have the allotted column. So for example, the office requirement or request there was 150 square feet. We're providing 120 square feet for each office. So it's a slight reduction, nothing super dramatic, but we did eliminate a couple of areas. We eliminated a receptionist area and one office. And we had quite a bit of back and forth with AOC staff and the PDB, as you noted, trying to get to these numbers. So that's what that looks like on paper.
Thank you. I'm struggling. I apologize. This is one of those times where these are really handy meetings. I know they're a lot harder to schedule in person, but these do go really well in person too.
We've been struggling also with just.
Yeah, I know you have, Monica. Thank you.
To get it across clearly is a struggle.
It does. It makes it harder for you guys, so we appreciate it.
To Zoom at all? Oh, we could Zoom it. Does that help everyone?
Yes.
Okay, because you never know what other people's equipment is like. If you're trying to do it on an iPad or a large screen. So there. Thank you, Jennifer. Well, that's really big. Okay, so that helps. Maybe we can continue with a zoomed in screen like this by nodding of heads. Would that be helpful? Okay, good. All right, let's continue on then back to the first floor. We may have to zoom out just a tiny bit, but all right. Now let's zoom in. All right, that seems good. We can move around a little bit. Okay, so here we're back to the first floor. Jennifer will find her place here. Whoa, we jumped right to the second. Sorry, guys. All right. The only area that I really didn't point out on the plan on this first floor is the blue area to the back right, and that is the grand jury suite. Yes. And Jennifer, come back over to, let's point out the staff circulation. Yep, so all of that, we have our private staff circulation pattern that really flanks the building all the way around. So the clerk and the judges and the staff can move about freely, getting their job done and not intersect the path with the public or, of course, the in custody. All right. Let's go ahead and look at that second floor. All right, here's the second floor plan. Wow, these colors are really bright on my screen. So we have again, banks of 2 courtrooms, where on the first floor we have the pink courtrooms. Stacking above are these tan colored ones, and that is the circuit court. So the circuit courtrooms are on the left with jury quarters and holding in the middle. And then to the back of that, or the left, we have another jury room, because circuit court wanted to maintain 2 jury rooms. So we have that, and then the accompanying chambers for each courtroom. Right. Over on the right-hand side of the building, which would be above the clerk and the grand jury, we have family court. And we have the one that Jennifer's highlighting for us now is at the closer to the authorized size, and the other one is a little bit larger per the request of that judge. And then behind those 2 courtrooms, then same thing. We have the supporting suites, so those chambers can be right behind their bench. And then in the middle, we have statewide services again. We have drug court and CDW with distinct and separate entrance points. Drug court enters in off of the main lobby, and the CDW suite is accessed through a semi-private or controlled corridor flanking family courtroom number 2. And then back in the middle of the building, just the white non-colored areas are restrooms and public circulation, waiting space, the central stair in the middle, and the 2 elevators to the right of the stair. Okay, let's take a look at the front. Here is the architect's rendering of what we're planning on having the building look like. The project development board was very active in designing the building. They wanted to make sure that the building fit within Georgetown. And so we chose a combination of brick and stone. We have columns, which just speak justice. And all of the cornices and window trims and things that would be indicative of a building of this stature and of this nature. You're getting a view of the front plaza. We have designed in a trellis, for lack of a better word, a site feature there on the foreground of the shot here, to give people a place to wait for the ride or what have you. All right, let's go to the next page. Here you're looking at a straight on shot. The top view is just directly of the front. And then the other view there at the bottom is of the back of the building. And we do have the ability to show you a 3D model of the site. And we have another graphic specialist that is about to show you that. And that's your cue, Stevie. Stevie's going to do a screen share for us and show us a little 3D flyover of the site and of the building.
You guys see me okay?
We do. Thank you, Stevie. So Stevie, you can just start moving slowly and I'll just narrate as you move around. Here's a nice view of the public plaza with planting areas and seating and so on, addressing the parking along the street. And I will add that probably we're going to get a little bit of lag and a little choppiness just because of the way we're doing this with Zoom. But we can get a little spin, a little feel of the surroundings of the building and of the site. We can go down the side street and look at the side view. More lag than I would have anticipated. There we go. So you can get a feel here for how the site falls off, which is why we have that partial basement in the back. So the areas of the building that appear to be taller in the stone, those are actually where the courtrooms are located. And they do have higher ceilings. The lower side pieces and the brick, that's where the offices are. It's where the chambers are. They can still have a very nice ceiling height. They just don't need to be as tall as the spaces that the courtrooms need. So you can understand how the building is arranged by looking at this building and seeing the tall stone pieces are the courtrooms. You see the garage doors there around back and how they feed into the parking areas. This lower level of the foreground here is the staff parking, and the parking lot that's farther away from us is the public parking. The two garage doors in the middle in the brick area, those are Sally Port entrance points. We may go to one door, we may leave it two. We have a few tiny decisions like that yet to be made, but ultimately that's the location of that door or door set. The tall part in the middle of the building with the clusters of window, the high part, that is over the grand stair in the lobby. So we'll just get some natural light down into the central part of the building. All right, and Stevie can just work his way around the other side of the building and land us back at the front. And we can entertain more questions about the building, or we can move on and let the construction manager speak his part.
I just have a comment. I'm from Scott County, so I'm looking at this with a little bit of additional interest than other people may be. And so I think it's a very nice facility, and I hope it works well for the judges.
Great. I know the project development board is very proud of it, and they want to break ground tomorrow.
It's a beautiful facility.
So,
and it's a
Monica,
great location too, I think.
And it looks like, and you may have said this and I missed it, is the ADA ramp right there in front of the building. Is that what that is for the public coming from behind?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Where are the closest handicap parking spots? How far are they from the front of the building?
So we're actually going to work with the city to get a designated handicap parking space on the street, and there will be an accessible path to the front door from the street. But if we look at the, Stevie, try to give us a shot of the parking lot in the back if you could, and focus on this left side of the building. We have an accessible path. You see a sidewalk there down the left-hand side. Whoa, I just lost it. There we go. All right, so there we go. Yeah. So on the right-hand side of the parking lot, you see the accessible parking spaces noted in blue. And then there's a sidewalk that connects that parking lot all the way around to the front of the building. Now, it's not the shortest path, but we have designed the site to where it's nearly flat. So it will be easy to navigate, even though the distance is a bit far. We meet the ADA guidelines with that path.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So while Stevie has this view on the screen, it's actually a good one. You'll see in the top upper corner of your screen, you get a glimpse of some brick pavers. And that is actually the current Scott County Courthouse, the county courthouse. And then the judicial building is kind of makes a triangle between the courthouse, this new building, and over across the where the big parking lot is. So this building is really nicely located in the heart of the city. Not only will it have a good recognizable address, but it's easy to navigate. There's lots of parking around it, easy to walk to from restaurants, if you're there all day and need to run to a sandwich shop, there's plenty of offerings nearby. So it is a very good site for that purpose. All right, Stevie, thank you. You can stop sharing and we can let Trace Creek have the screen.
All right, everybody able to see? Let's see, I have lost my screen now.
Josh, if you could, it might help to increase the size of that just a little bit.
Okay, I'll have to zoom in on specific sections. I'll start with just kind of a brief overview of the current GMP. We'll go by sections and we can expand on anything we need to as we go, if that works. So we have taken the schematic design from Branstetter Carroll, ran it through several trade contractors, looked at it from some previous completed judicial centers with Branstetter Carroll and some currently bid projects for their kind of square footages and unit costs to apply as we could as it pertains to this project. So you can see we've got our current breakdown for the construction costs on the screen as we would see it currently. Obviously, this would update as we tighten things up into the next phases of the project. Is there any specific questions or comments you'd like to expand on for any of the trades or GMP costs?
You know, Josh, I know that it's Laurie again. I know that we've got to spend some time talking about this. I know at the last CFSC meeting before these projects were approved, we've been battling, just the skyrocketing construction costs, just like everybody else is. And I didn't know if we need to talk about that here, Danny. I didn't know if you wanted to hold that because the conversation is really the same for both projects. And Josh, I didn't mean to kind of mess you may want to.
Oh, no, no, absolutely.
Because we have a plan.
Yeah, I think it'll be helpful that, once we see the proposed plan of finance and related to these costs and what, current interest rates are or what we're seeing projected interest rates, I think it would be good to have that conversation probably then.
Okay, that works. I just wasn't sure what the plan was.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I believe the biggest concern, a lot along with the market, continuing like it has, is the interest rates. So I know that's been a big concern. So.
Josh, one question I will ask of this and related to the total construction cost, which includes the construction management fee. Also, but where are we as far as the total square foot price per square foot related to the square footage that we have on the design?
At the construction cost per square foot, I think we are about $600 to $605 a square foot. Current GMP with CM fee. Well, that's what that right under 42 million cost there with the square footage, I believe. And then we've also included, along with the total GMP, some other outside costs that we have historically ran into regarding the special inspections, commissioning, the photographic documentation from somewhere like Multivista, which has been very beneficial on previous jobs. And that's also keeping a 10% contingency in the project. So, which bringing all that together with the CM fees, A&E fees, temp utilities, and some of the band's payback, we're at 51,565, 896. So overall project cost.
Any other questions from the committee?
Now we did, would like to see, we did break out the site demolition package, which we are currently out for bid for, which would be part of the, I'll flip back to it. That would be included in the $2.6 million line item for the earthwork and demolition site improvements in the overall budget. It's just broken out of that line item. This would include abatement of the 12 structures that are on all the properties currently, the removal of those, the trees and vegetation, utility cutoffs, and kind of some preliminary grading, along with a post-driven fence, kind of get the site ready and secure until the project kind of keeps moving forward. So.
I do have a question. This is Libby. Is the 10% contingency, is that the traditional contingency? And do you feel like that's sufficient at this point, just seeing how the costs are continue to increase? And, I just wondered if you could speak about that.
Historically, that's what we've tried to run with is 10%. On this project, we'd be looking at a little over 4 million for any runovers or modifications or changes in work.
So let me try to address, because Libby, I feel like you're asking the question I'm asking. So when we talk to the financial advisors about the cost overruns and where we are on the use allowance, spoiler alert, I don't think anybody will be surprised. We're going to have to go back to the General Assembly on these. But in terms of a 10% cost overrun, that's really based on whatever the costs are. That's not based on projected material cost increases or labor costs, because we probably need to explain to Libby once it goes out to bid where we are. Mm-hmm. It's different in terms of what you're thinking in terms of cost overruns we're facing right now in material increase and labor increases.
Okay, so that the contingencies more or less changes in potential scope of the project, or
yes,
unexpected needs. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Lori. That does help.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments regarding individual line items or overall projected?
Okay. Hearing none.
Okay. We can move on to our projected schedule. Currently, we have the site demolition package out for bid. We will be receiving bids back on the 22nd of December, with hopes of that starting within the following 30 days of that, with contracts executed, getting that completed within 60 days. Pending today, we would like to see or hope to maintain some momentum to get phase B completed towards the end of February, with phase C wrapping up in mid to late August. With the way that will time out, we would like to get a early site foundation package out to get out of the ground before possibly inclement weather comes in, if possible, which would have us starting that there towards the end of August, with wrapping up the 1st of November, with the building package proceeding after that at the beginning of September of 23, with the beginning of the vertical construction in 1st of November, and anticipate it being a 24-month project.
So Danny, let me ask, this is probably more a question for Danny, and I apologize that I'm interrupting so much. I mean, obviously aggressive timeline to get phase B complete, just for all of our new members on the CFSC, because I know we have some. And Chief Justice-elect Van Meter's here as well. Phase A, this is our phase A approval piece. We have to do that today before we can begin phase B. And to get paid on phase B and to get all of this done, we know that we are going to have to go back to our General Assembly on the overall increase in construction costs. I don't believe we're going to be in the use allowance on this one, are we, Danny? So when we look at this timeline, one of the things that I think we need to talk about with respect to both Jessamine and Scott, because we love to be aggressive and I love the timeline and I appreciate that very much, but I'm concerned that if we don't get an increase in the use allowance that's been appropriated, I'm concerned about additional costs being incurred and us moving forward quickly before legislative session is over. So I don't know if you guys have talked about that. Danny, do you have you guys talked about this?
Not really with the board. If we, and, obviously RJ will give us more information on that, but if we went out to bid today, we are not within our use allowance based on the current interest rates and construction costs that Josh has presented. That being said, the interest rates could decrease, which would be more beneficial to us. Our cost per square foot was increased in the last budget session to $610 a square foot, but the interest rates are not allowing us, which, I'll give an update on another project later. The interest rates are not allowing us to be able to fit that within a 20-year bond issuance. So that is the concerning aspect of this, is that, if we don't get an increase from the General Assembly in our use allowance, then, we're going to be held up further on down the road. So,
and Danny, would either of these, if we were able to extend to 25 years, would either of them come under then?
I believe that, and RJ, you can jump in if you want, but I believe that Scott County will be close.
Yes. So based upon the new use allowance of $3,754,575, we would be right on top of that number, probably a little less now. Rates have actually rallied, which is positive, but we could stretch this one in a 25-year financing based upon the current estimates.
So RJ, what are you
Yes.
hearing? We were hearing at one point in time, the General Assembly did not want us to extend these to 25. Have you had any conversations with anybody recently about that?
I have not had any conversation with them. I just was curious myself, to be honest, to see how it would work, if it was a possibility. So we did run it.
Okay, good. Thank you for running that, because I think that's what we're going to probably have to negotiate with them. I was just concerned. And again, Sam and Josh, I love the aggressive timeline, certainly. And Monica, I appreciate that. I'm just concerned without us knowing for sure that we're going to have the bonding capacity, or not the bonding capacity, excuse me, the ability to do this, whether we're extending the term of the bond or whether they're appropriating additional use allowance to us. I don't know. I'd be curious what everyone else thinks. We've never run into this problem before. I want to just point that out. We've never had to have this conversation as a court facility standards committee before on getting this far, getting to phase A, and trying to make a decision whether we need to hold or whether we need to go forward, not knowing for sure if we're going to be able to pay the bills for the architect and the construction manager.
Laurie, if I could add one thing to that, and Josh, if you would, if you still have the sharing ability, would you bring back up the schedule, please? If you don't have, it's not a problem. I can go through it. Blow it up just a little bit for they can see it just a little better, please. Stop right there is good. One of the things we've done here is by breaking the project out into individual divisions, if you will, as scopes of work, we're starting the project quicker than we would normally start it under a full bid, full design, full construction, such as with a GC. So we believe that by starting an early site and foundation bid, well, we know by starting an early site and foundation bid package, such as for July 3rd, if we hit those quick dates and actually go in the ground by the end of August, that gives us a 3-4 month window to beat winter weather so we can be going vertical out of the ground, out of the mud, out of the ice, out of the snow. We know that saves us money. Anytime we go in the ground starting late in the year, such as October, November, with this type of site and this type of construction, it adds a considerable amount of cost in winter construction cost. So we believe that aggressive timeline, while it may not be possible, we believe it actually saves the project money in the overall cost of the project.
I have no doubt that that is true.
Thank you, Josh.
So I guess the question is the question really now we've seen the presentation. All right, we heard it all. Is there anything else that?
Would you guys like to see RJ his work and what he put together as the financial package?
Yeah.
Thanks, Corky, and Chief and members of the committee. You have the draft plan of finance in your packet. If you could go to the sources and uses, Corky, for me, please. The bottom line is based upon the current maximum use allowance of $3,754,600. That produces a shortfall for project funds of a little over $4.4 million. Remind you that this was submitted to staff so they could distribute to the committee about a month ago. Rates have again rallied, and so I went back and ran it again. That shortfall has reduced from 4.4 million down to about $2.3 million today. So, we've got nearly half of our shortfall back. In terms of use allowance, that translates to where we're about $170,000 over the maximum authorized use allowance in order to fund this on a 20-year basis. Again, as Lori and I discussed, if we were able to stretch this to 25 years based upon current estimates, we would be under the use allowance by about $80,000. So as Laurie mentioned, this is uncharted water. We've been doing this for a while, and this is the first time we've been to the committee where we are outside of the use allowance. That is currently where we are with the market where it is.
Yeah.
RJ, what basis point, what's the difference in the basis point of what you had initially run, which is in their packet, and what you're seeing today?
Yeah, so initially what they have in their packet is run at 4.8%. Today we're running it at about 4.48%. And so we've had about a month worth of decrease in the municipal market. Does it continue? It's hard to say.
Well, and then remind everybody the process too on, once you go to bid, what can happen between now and then also.
Yes, of course. I mean, we're looking at market rates today, what is selling that is similar to this type of credit. And we're looking at the spreads and estimating what that could be in the future. As rates move and change, so will our public offering. So we won't know a rate until we actually conduct a competitive sale, the same as we won't actually know the total cost until we bid it out. So it's a bit of a moving target for sure.
Yeah. And, as I mentioned earlier, we are, at the number that Josh had mentioned, price per square foot number. We are right at what was the use allowance that was adjusted. We based that on $610 a square foot for that adjusted use allowance. So I think, what's really hurting us right now, and what it seems like, is movement in the right direction, is that the interest rates, aren't favorable based on what we had anticipated, we were going to see on those. Just for instance, we had projects that bid 5 years ago or 4 years ago that came in at almost sub 2%. And, it was, considerable savings on what we had projected. So, the interest rates can play a difference in that. We're actually selling bonds on Oldham County right now, and I hate to jump ahead, but I think it's important to mention this one. Oldham County bid in August, and we had already done quite a bit of preliminary work there, site work and demolition, and building move, actually, that we already had the site and everything prepared. That square foot number came in at $660 a square foot with the building move component in there. We did, because we were already so far ahead of that one, looked at a 25-year bond issuance on that one and moved forward with that. We were able to fit within the use allowance on that project. But looking at, the other projects that we have either, beginning design or, nearing completion and schematic design, I think, we're going to be in the same situation there. We're probably going to have to look at asking for additional use allowance increase from the General Assembly on those as well.
So is the question whether normally we'd have a motion to proceed on with phase A, I assume, right?
Phase B, this would be approval for phase A schematic design. And this would send us into phase B design.
Right.
And can I ask a question similarly? So if we're in phase B now and the General Assembly does not increase the use allowance, but that we need, and we end up needing that additional, what are the options at that point, other than, is the only option going to be to defer the project, to put the project on hold, or are there other options, like for additional financing, or what?
Well, I think, looking at, increased financing terms to the 25 years would be one option. Another option would be basically reduction in scope if needed. We obviously are pretty close within our programmed square footage. So, there's not, although we could continue to cut things out, we don't want to, decrease the functionality of the building and sacrifice that to reduce that cost. But, and then the other one would, there is that possibility that we would have to, wait to move forward.
Okay, that helps. I did wonder whether a change in scope was a potential or versus a deferral of the project.
Libby, sorry, Laurie.
Go ahead, Jenny.
There have been times too where we've reduced the contingency below 10%. So in cases, there are going to be some projects where we're not anywhere close on a 25-year bond issue that we're just going to have to defer until we can get additional funds from the General Assembly. But these projects, it looks like, are going to be close enough that we can make the decision, and it'll be a negotiation with the General Assembly. Do you want us to move forward with the 25-year bond issue, or would you prefer to increase the use allowance and keep it at 20 years? And then, like Danny said, if that doesn't work, it'll be value engineering or reducing the contingency.
Okay, that's helpful, Jenny. And my curiosity in making sure that I'm clear on all the options is based on, what decision we make today. how that, where we may be. And if, as long as we have options, I feel more comfortable,
Well,
doing
to
that.
make sure everybody understands, we're paying our professional services contractors right now through, the bond anticipation notes. So that's one of the things that I'm concerned about, as well, Jenny, that at some point these, the bands get paid off when we issue the bonds. So, timing is really everything, and what we're billing right now against the bands is important. So.
Yeah, because there is a maturity date that our bands would come up.
All right.
So
Well, let me ask you
basically,
this.
Laurie, you're saying a deferral of the project would hurt that too because of the due date of the bands. Like,
It does, Libby. And I think we're trying to not defer the project, but at the same time, we need to be, I think wise how we're, spending the dollars the next few months. The session will be over before either of these projects, we're ready to issue bonds on, right, Jenny? So
Yes.
we should know one way or the other for sure. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that when, because of course we want to approve the Phase A design. We're excited for both of these counties to move forward. But I think understanding that some of this is a little uncertain and, as RJ said, uncharted. We're going to all try to figure this out together, RJ. So.
okay.
And one of the other concerns that we would have on moving forward with the next phase of design, too aggressively, is that if we do have to make major modifications or value engineering scope changes, that comes with some additional design costs possibly. So.
Danny, Chief, the one thing I would like to add, and it goes back to what Laurie was just talking about. We do typically at a Phase A, Phase B, carry a 10% contingency. But once we get into final documents into the CD set and the DDs, we very regularly in public projects reduce that contingency to a 5% once we have all the factors known. So yes, there is some area of movement within the 5 and 10% rule, if you will, until we get into full construction documents and the actual bidding documents. We like to keep that 10% in there just to make sure we have that buffer zone for things that may come up in the design process.
And Sam, we know that the General Assembly is hearing this from everybody right now, certainly not just us, but especially from the schools. What do the schools usually hold in their contingencies?
Typically, it's the same thing. We'll hold a 10%.
Okay.
When we're at what you would call Phase A or Phase B. They do it a little differently, but once we get to final documents and bids, we typically hold a 5% contingency.
Okay.
So, Danny, do you have, from staff's point of view, a recommendation for the committee?
Well, at this point, Chief, I would recommend that we move forward with the approval of the schematic design phase. I guess the only caveat to that would be, do we want a contingency to make that contingent upon, the General Assembly's authorization, or at least, moving forward with the Phase B, contingent upon General Assembly authorization of additional use allowance or approval to go to 25 years.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So we need to get that in the form of if somebody's willing to make a motion, that you put this together so we can understand what the issue is before us. Can you do that for us?
Yeah, I can.
All right, or Jenny or somebody. This
Jenny,
is like being in class, Jenny. I'm calling on you.
So, yeah.
You call on me anytime, Chief. I think we want to make a motion to approve the Phase A design contingent on financing.
Period. All right. Will that motion will that get the job done?
Chief Justice, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Will that allow us to move forward with our demo? And I question that, Chief, because the reality is with so many structures on our site, we have some real safety concerns about those lingering for any longer unoccupied. We have done our best to, with code enforcement, to address those concerns, but would really like to be able to move forward with demolition.
Chief,
So,
and I can
wanna
speak
address
to that.
or Corky, somebody?
Yeah, I can speak to that, Chief. So the demolition, we were anticipating bond anticipation notes that were already in place, paying for the demolition package currently. So I don't see that there would be any problem with moving forward with that package. Within the anticipation that, we will continue design and, move toward that direction once additional financing is in place.
And again, Danny, we were looking at demo. Was it in July and August? Is that what?
No, that we were looking at demo at the end of this year, beginning of next year. The July and August were early site package, site preparation.
Okay, Judge, does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, Chief. Thank you.
And
There's
Danny, what
also
is the cost of the demo? Do you know that?
Josh, we were estimating
Yeah.
700,000.
Yes.
Jenny, that-
Yes,
Yeah,
we were
Jenny,
right
that
around
was-
700.
They were estimating demolition based on the previous documents at the end of February. That's why I was asking these questions, and we'll have, significant cost incurred on the bands, right? Which is fine. I just want to make sure that we got the motion right, and I think we got the motion right.
So there's also enough money in bands based on the estimate to pay the Phase A fees for our professional service providers.
Okay, so the motion to proceed with the Phase A schematic that with the contingency on financing, that incorporates in the approval also to proceed with the site demolition, correct? Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Mhm.
Right?
I believe so.
Okay, all right. So let's make sure somebody, Jenny, the motion is clear, and then we'll get somebody who's a member of the board to make it.
So I think what you're looking at is a motion to proceed with, to approve the Phase A design contingent on financing and to proceed with demo in early 2023.
All right.
I move
All right, have a
on that
motion.
motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to bring up one thing, and it's in the plans, and I'm just very always worried about security, and it's something that can be addressed later in design. But the overall design I love, but the hallway between the district judges or the district courtrooms and the circuit courtrooms that allows for egress of prisoners from the holding area that goes into secure space. I'd just like to encourage the architects and the team at AOC to make sure that that is implemented in such a way that we don't put our judges at risk. That's all I have. That's the only comment I'd like to make.
Judge Anderson, and I'm glad you caught that. We do have, there is an electronic solution now
Yes.
with card readers that would allow that space to be basically vacated before anybody else can access that. So.
Gotcha. Thank you. There's that one Greene County door I don't like, and I know you know that. So sorry. But I think it's a beautiful plan and very, very efficient.
Yeah. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, if you're prepared to support the motion, raise the hand, please. Are you raising your hand?
Sir, but you can't see me. So aye.
All right, we got it. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. I want to congratulate. This is a need that I'm. You don't have to convince me of this. This one was one that I knew we needed to move on, and I'm so pleased that we're able to do it. But it's not going to be easy. But it's a beautiful building, and I want to congratulate the design folks and the PDB that's worked so hard to keep going back to the drawing board to make it fit as best you can within the guidelines. So, all right, Danny, what's next? We have Jessamine County.
Jessamine County will be presenting for Phase A schematic design. We have Judge Executive David West. Yeah, there's Judge West right there.
Welcome.
I don't know that I don't see anybody else from.
Anyone want to
Jessamine.
identify here on behalf of the Jessamine project besides Judge West?
Doug Fain, Jessamine County Circuit Clerk.
Hey, Doug.
Brian Gatto, Jessamine County Attorney.
Brian. Others?
Yeah, you've got Brian Skinner here from RSA Advisors, the financial advisor on this project.
Brian. All right.
Joe Lakofka here as well from RSA Advisors. Good afternoon.
Joe.
And Judge Daugherty sends his condolences. He's under the weather currently.
Oh, well, tell him to get better.
Yeah, we'll do so.
All right, then let's, Judge Daugherty is one of our, now one of our senior most judges, which makes me feel kind of senior most because I'm older than he is and been on. So, all right.
So Chief,
proceed then. Yes.
Chief, I'll turn it over again to Monica with Brandstetter Carroll Architects.
All right, Monica.
This is a general contractor project. The board has decided to go with the general contract project delivery method. So we won't have a report from a construction manager, but Monica will speak to our project budget.
Danny, if you don't care, I'd just like to.
No, I'm sorry, Judge West.
That's fine. I'd like to thank Chief Justice Minton for all of his service and welcome Chief Justice-elect Van Meter here, and glad both of them are here. But thank you for your service, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Judge.
And thanks to the committee for hearing Jessamine County today. Much like Scott County, we are a rapidly growing county each year. We are currently in a building that was constructed in 1878. In 1998, a process was begun to relocate our court system, but we had some property next door and an annex was constructed. That was supposed to be a Band-Aid for 4 or 5 years, and it's lasted since 98. We all know that drug court and family courts were added since that time, so the pressure is on. We were 36,000 when the annex was built, and we currently are 53. Our projections in the next 10 years take us over 65,000. So this project would serve the people of Jessamine County very well, not only serve us, but is needed. I'm tasked with telling you about our site selection process and our land procurement. We identified 6 different sites. We looked at each one and studied this, and every other county would be angry at us. And I talked to Judge Covington earlier today. We found a 4.75 acre parcel that's 1 block away from downtown that was a single owner. We had an appraisal done, and the owner actually negotiated a price that was under the appraised price. So we have obtained that piece of property and actually have gone ahead with all the necessary tests, and we bid out the demolition and awarded that with our bonding so far. The land procurement was seamless, and we are ready to move forward with that.
All right, Judge, thank you.
So Chief, I just want to jump in and thank Judge West for recognizing me. I'm really just here to kind of learn the ropes of what you're doing and see how this works. But, of course, by happenstance, these are my friends from both Scott and Jessamine County. So I'm glad to be here with them.
I want to say that I've been doing this now for a while. We've never had to sweat like this over the number. I've never seen a red line number, RJ, at the bottom of the column. So this is new territory for all of us. All right, Monica, I think you're up.
Okay, great. And it certainly is new territory for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the benefit in having the same architect do both of these presentations for you is they're exactly the same in terms of format. So hopefully you'll be able to get on board with this pretty quickly. Again, we have the same document. It's color coded to match our plans. We have an authorized column and then a provided column. So the authorized number for each space reflects the number that was in the guidelines upon the issuance of the project. And then the provided is what we're actually showing on our plan that we've developed for the county. So right away, we're looking at the jury trial courtroom. And Jennifer, can you zoom that in a little bit for us again? Thank you. Where we're showing all the respective areas noted with the authorized column versus the provided. You are seeing some commentary regarding shared spaces. Those are restrooms and coffee bars and things. We've sort of pared some of those down in efforts to consolidate square footage where we could without losing function, certainly losing areas of courtrooms and those kinds of things. So we're really close on that courtroom total from 4,000 to 3,669. Let's keep going then down the page. Courtroom number 2. You can see the comparative spaces there with our litigation area, spectator area, and so on. The deliberation areas for jury are noted, restrooms, etc. Our number at the bottom is slightly over, but again, these two courtrooms share some spaces. So they balance out pretty nicely against the program. Let's continue on to page 2. Courtroom 3 is noted with some shared spaces, and we made the spectator area a little bit larger upon the request of one of the judges, I believe the district judge. And then we go on down to our non-jury trial courtroom or family courtroom. And you can see how those spaces then allocate. And we also met with the family court judge in those efforts. The grand jury area is noted in the yellow space. We're very close there in square footage. Let's continue on to the next page. Then we have our judges, suites and chambers, circuit judge. We have 2 judges in this county. Well, we're planning for 2. There's one currently. District judge, or 2 district judges. Both have been involved in the process here, getting to those numbers. And then our family court judge, there we go, right? Just a little bit over there. And you'll see there where it says judge's office. We're looking in the pink area under family court judge. The allocation was for 1 office and they've asked for 2. We didn't add courtroom space, but added additional chamber space for future judge growth. And so all of those requested 2 are into support of a future additional judge. We have other support spaces noted. Let's continue on to the next page. Prisoner handling and court security areas are noted in gray. Some of those areas are in the basement of this building and some are on the first floor adjacent to the entrance. Circuit court clerk is noted in the bronze color toward the bottom of the page. There we go. And the square footage there is virtually perfectly matched to the allocated. And we've worked very closely with Clerk Fain and staff on arriving at a plan that they support. Our statewide services with our pretrial, CDW, and drug court offices are noted accordingly. We have some shared areas with restrooms, and you can see at the bottom of the page how those spaces total out. facility support spaces, things like equipment storage, facility support, in other words, janitor's office, public restrooms, and so on are noted. And our total primary facilities, we had a number that varied there. The numbers didn't quite add up on the document. We have the 49,819 is listed as the authorized total. When we actually totaled up all of the authorized areas, they totaled 55,319. Our actual provided in this plan is pushing up against 60,000 at 59,842. And we'll look at those plans and let you lay eyes on those things. All right, this is a site plan. And County Judge Executive West noted how lucky they were to find this property. I support that. To the left of this judicial center, the building on the corner that's highlighted in dark right there, that is a prominent bank in the community right on the corner. The courthouse is about a block to the left of that. So it's very proximate to diners and attorney's office and whatnot. So the Judicial Center is labeled there in the center of your screen. We have 2 entry points onto the site. So we have public parking that will flank the building. We're trying to maintain an appropriate setback and lawn to the front of the building. And then we've noted staff parking and secure staff parking spaces in the back. There's also exit points out to North 2nd Street. So we have excellent site circulation with this property. We do have a partial basement again because we have rolling landscapes in Kentucky, as you all know. So this site is not flat. In fact, we have a 14-foot fall from the front to the back in height. So that allows us to sneak in a sally port and some storage and support spaces underneath the building. The sally port and prisoner holding and handling areas are in the gray colors, and those tan and brown shades are various support spaces, such as storage for the clerk, for long-term storage records, and custodial offices, various equipment needs, and so on. We do have it's labeled law enforcement door in the back there, Jennifer, the back corner, right? We do have a place where the staff will enter there and law enforcement personnel can access. And then we have another staff entry point right there, right where the employee entrance is, right off that back staff parking lot. So we've got secure entrances in the back, no public entrances back there, all the public entrances in the front. And we'll show you that on the first floor plan next. All right, let's just get that first floor zoomed in on, Jennifer, if we can. All right, so we have front doors. This plan is kind of long and narrow from top to bottom. So we'll just have Jennifer adjust that plan for us as we move through. We have 2 entry doors that she's highlighting with her hand there. And we come into sort of a nice open lobby with a security checkpoint. And those dash lines represent soffits or elements that are happening on the ceiling. So they're not really there on the ground plane, but they really help to form the space. The clerk windows are highlighted in the bronze color, dark tan color. We have the record review noted, all the desks and windows that the clerk has asked for. The clerk office is shown over on the right with all of his support staff, records, and so on. To the very front of the building, just past security, we have our pretrial offices shown right there. And then over to the left on the far end of the lobby, we have our stair that goes up to the 2nd floor. That stair does not access the basement. There's no basement under this part of the building. As we move back toward the corridor, if you can slide your plan down, Jennifer, these green areas are all of the courtrooms, as noted, courtroom 1 and courtroom 2. The intent by the judges in this county are to use the larger courtroom than courtroom 2 for things like traffic in the district setting, and courtroom 1 is a little bit smaller, but still meets the program space nicely. The nice feature about this corridor, on the left-hand side of that, you'll see some black squares and a dashed line. You'll see that when we show the facade of the building. That is a large glass wall with a sunshade and a colonnade. And that's going to be a really nice feature for this building. The green spaces behind those 2 courtrooms are chamber spaces. And though we are showing corridors running adjacent to those courtrooms, I believe it was Ms. Anderson that commented about that. We do have direct doors behind the bench that the judges use, and they will not be utilizing those corridors. I know it's hard to see when you look at these plans for just a moment, but we do have direct doors into those courtrooms for the judiciary. The holding space and those doors go directly into the courtrooms as shown. We have a jury quarters in the back corner of the building, and it was the desire of these the district judges to share a jury deliberation space for these 2 courtrooms, although they're sharing chambers. Yep, right there in the middle. All right, we do have a stair in the back corner. Staff can utilize that stair along with this other one in kind of the middle of the plan. Those are private, secure staff vertical movement through the building. All right, let's slide over there and look at the second floor plan. Let's go back to the front. So we have a large public lobby space that's open to below. So all of that, there is not a second floor there, just tall lobby space, if you will. The yellow area there to the right is grand jury space. And let's go back over. We have a drug court entrance right there. Yeah, and that gray area is all the drug court offices. And we received a request to add a district office in this drug court space, and we've done so. So over in the hallway on the left, which is the main circulation corridor for the building, that's where we access the family court room. Yes, thank you, Jennifer. Family courtroom is right there. And we have all of the matching color spaces in that lower corner to the right. It's all the family judges suite, 2 chambers, supporting conference space and staff spaces as required. Right outside of that suite, we have staff restrooms and a break room, right? And then you can see behind those 2 courtrooms, the area that's left white, that is the private staff corridor. And then on the left of those courtrooms is the public circulation. So again, the colors match the pale lavender shade of courtroom 3. All the support spaces for that are in the same color, including the chambers behind the courtroom, where we have 2 chambers sharing a common space, conference rooms, and staff support spaces. All right, I believe that summarizes that second floor. That was quick. Let's take a look at our presentation of our building. So you see how the curved front colonnade presents itself to Main Street. And then the colonnade on the left, which is straight, the left-hand side of this image, that is the public corridor that runs in front of the courtrooms. And then the other smaller window openings are in various support rooms and spaces. This is a straight-on view. It's not as attractive as the 3D model, but it does just help understand the proportions of the building. And we are also able to share the screen with Stevie, our architectural illustrator, and allow him to show you a 3D flyover of the project. All right. Hopefully Stevie didn't fall asleep. He was waiting a long time.
I'm here. I'm sharing now.
Thank you. All right. So this is a 3D model that we've constructed of the project, that if we were on a large screen in front of you, we could just do amazing things to fly around this building and let you see all of the architectural components and details on it. Stevie will do the best he can to move us around. It will be a little choppy, but you can get some perspective on the stature of the building, which is very important, and sort of the site positioning and so on. Good. So we're standing across Main Street, looking directly to the front of the building. And if we can move around, right, there we go. We have public parking directly here on this side. You can see some handicap spaces marked, and we have a nice at-grade entrance directly onto that front walkway and porch area of the building. We haven't necessarily completed the design work on that concrete flat work, but we'll get to that very quickly to sort of tie that parking lot and that front porch together a little better. The side of the building just has a nice rhythm of windows. You can see how the site falls off dramatically right toward the back. So we've taken advantage of that, and we're getting our inmate delivery into the back of the building, back there around the bottom. We'll let Stevie take his time and get us around to the other side as he can. We were very fortunate to have a nice roomy site. I mean, we have filled it, but there is enough space for some green areas and some trees and things to just have it be just visually appealing. You see the Sallyport door there at the bottom. We are not showing the man door that is reflected on the floor plan, but there would be a direct walk-in entrance down here from the staff parking lot. And it'll keep moving here in just a moment. So all of this parking that you're seeing along the side of the building is public parking, and you see the colonnade. The colonnade adds a nice, it sort of matches the front, if you will, makes a nice aesthetic presentation to the community. All right. And Stevie will get us back up to the front, and we'll wrap this up. And there we go. We have a lot of potential with this project to make this plaza very interesting. There are a lot of stairs on the left side, but none on the right side. So we were fortunate to be able to have ample public parking and also maintain an at-grade entrance for those with handicap needs. Okay. All right, that's all we have for that. Thank you, Stevie. And we can, let's see, Phil, there's Phil. Phil Schilfarth is our project manager on this project, and he is going to walk us through budget and schedule. And then we have, our financial advisor is here, and they can roll into our budget talks, which won't be very different from the Scott County conversation, unfortunately.
Thanks, Monica. And I would agree, the schedule cost or schedule comparison is probably has the same points of conversation as Scott County as well. So pending approval and everything moves forward, we were looking at phase B completion in about 4 months at the end of March. Phase C completion would occur towards the end of September, which is about a 6-month process. And then we go into quality control, agency reviews, and permitting. That's about a 2-month process, which gets us to the end of November. over the following months, we would advertise for general contractor bids and answer questions, issue addenda and things of that nature, followed by construction beginning in February and then concluding in August of 2025, about an 18-month process. And so this closely mimics the Scott County schedule, with final completion being around October of 25.
And I think we should note, in case it wasn't brought up earlier, it may have this project is going to utilize a traditional design bid build process, and where we'll be seeking general contractors bids. And this county opted not to utilize a construction manager. So Branson Carroll has provided input into this schedule, and Phil's going to share a cost estimate next, which we consulted with a third-party estimator to generate with our assistance.
Correct. Yes, we worked with Robert Past Associates out of Louisville to generate the estimate in front of you, and ultimately it's broken down into the specifications, trades for concrete, masonry, metals, woods, and so forth. But ultimately, it works out to be around $600 per square foot. Jennifer, if you could blow that up a little bit. Yeah, and scroll down. Yeah, what we're looking at is approximately $600 a square foot, plus the general requirements, general contractors' fees, bonds, insurance. The design contingency we had in here at 5% with an escalation consideration of 8%. And as Sam Howard mentioned on Scott County, those will be dialed in as we progress through. So I think those are two variables that obviously will change as we move forward. And definitely that $600 a square foot cost too. Once we get more detailed information to provide to the estimator, that number can fluctuate as well. What we were looking at for the total project amount was $49,537,000. And I will note that demolition, we've already got that bid, and I believe that's awarded, and that was $89,000 for that work. And Judge West also mentioned that we have done all the environmental assessments, geotechnical work, and survey work, so that the site is ready to go.
Yes. All right, that's a quick look at our budget and schedule. Financial advisors, you can share your work now.
Is this Brian?
Brian or Joe, are you with us?
There we go. Sorry about that. Had a little technical difficulties. Not sure. Again, this is Brian Skinner with RSA. I've got Joe Lakofka on here too. He may chime in. I'll go ahead and share our screen for us. We will. Okay, so right now we've got an outline basically of the cost, which we just kind of went through the cost. Don't have to go through all of it, just point out a couple items at the top. That would be our use allowance. The new increased use allowance is now $2,933,000. A 20-year, what we've run this on is a true interest cost would be 4.75%. A 25-year would be somewhere around 4.85%. Those are just the numbers we used for this. As alluded to earlier, interest rates have come down a little bit in the past month, but both of those would probably be under 4.5% today. That does affect our modeling a little bit, but not significantly, where we still have the same talking points. Scrolling down just a little bit here, cost per square foot, like was just mentioned by Phil, is about $600 a square foot. And go through, add the other costs to that, we go down to that 49,537,000 number. The crux of our analysis is, we generally do a 20-year bond issue, and for all the ones we've done before this, we've, like mentioned before, haven't had this issue. We've always come in under the use allowance, not had to really look at this, but in this case, we're looking at a 25-year issue due to, the two factors. Construction costs have gone up dramatically. We do a lot of projects for schools and stuff across the state. So that $600 per square foot is in line with what we're seeing. Of course, it's a lot higher than it's been for projects in the past, and interest rates have gone up some, considerably. Down a little bit more, but compared to where they were a year ago, they are very much higher. And I'll get to a chart on that here in a second. What we always estimate for these, a few things: underwriters discount at 2%. That's just an estimate that we hope will come in lower. We won't know until the day we bid the bonds out for something like that. The cost of issuance, that's our fee, bond counsel fee, rating fee, title insurance, things like that. The ban, we've mentioned the bans a little bit. You have to pay some interest on the bans, and the expenses of that are included. We've got a total right there of those. So the total par amount we're going to need for this is right at $51 million. When we first looking at this project, it was somewhere around $31 million. Of course, the scope's changed, the costs have gone up. So significantly different there. During that time, the use allowance was increased. So, not all of this was unexpected, but here we are. So at the current use allowance and the current interest rates, the max par amount that we could issue would be this $36,785,000. That, subtracted from that, about 51 million would leave us with a shortfall deficiency around $14 million overall for the 20-year. Our average annual debt service would be $3,925,000. So again, at that 4.75%, and our use allowance, we'd be somewhere about $1 million over our use allowance. Shifting over to the 25-year, most everything's the same except the term. Our yield curve is, without getting into the weeds too much, what we call flat and actually inverted in places. So we could issue $41 million at the estimated 4.85% interest rate, leaving us a deficiency of $9.665 million, with an annual debt service of around $3,495,000. Now, if we were to sell bonds today, I ran numbers a little while ago, that average annual debt service would be around $3,330,000. So still over our use allowance, not quite as significantly, but over it. Just scroll into the next page, show you a couple interest rate charts. These were, as of our last meeting, as of November 1st of the PDB. They have come down slightly, but not much. Just a little history here. So on 10/30 of 2020, this bottom gray line, I believe it's gray, you see how low interest rates are. So this is going from year 1 to year 30. You'll see that we're very, very low. These are based on a AAA, so we benchmark to this, I should say. Interest rates are very low. A year later, on 11/1 of 21, basically a year ago, we were still incredibly low. And earlier this month, like I said, it's come down a little bit, but we are significantly higher, more than double the interest rates at every point in our yield curve. Where I mentioned that the yield curve is flat, right now, if you look at year 20 at 3.85, going out to year 25, that interest rate doesn't go up a lot. So your overall interest rate would not change that much. Of course, you would pay more interest paying it over a longer period of time, but a little different than in years past where our curve was not as flat. It doesn't penalize you as much to go out that extra 5 years. The bottom chart is more of a history of our 10-year rate and our 30-year rate. You can see right here, we're not, historically, these rates are not crazy. We've just been spoiled the past couple of years with these interest rates. You see a spike right there. That's when COVID initially took hold of the country. And since then, we've had just absolutely historic rates. So, go back to 07, 08, we're still not even quite to those levels. So it could go higher. We're hopeful it goes lower, but that's just it's pretty much where we are. So, the rest of this is just some supporting bond schedules, but really the crux of it is here and on the bottom of this page. So if we have any questions or discussions, me and Joe can try to answer.
And this one, and so everybody, what you're seeing is right. This one is even, and I hate to say, in a little worse shape financially than Scott County was. So, and I kind of struggling just a little bit just because it is so small. I'm not sure if you're able to enlarge this at all. Thank you. That's good. That's
Laurie, they don't want to make it any bigger.
I know. Unfortunately, I can still see colors though.
Well, I cannot see colors, so there. I can't see that red, unfortunately.
I can relate to what you're saying. So the bottom line is at 20, even at 25 years, we cannot come in at the use allowance. And Danny, I know we've got some issues on the square footage calculation also. I don't know if you want to bring everybody up to speed on that.
Yeah.
I had this moment. Yeah, Danny, hang on one sec too, because we've got folks here. This is their first or second CFSC meeting. I think it's important to even speak to the Phase B billing, because again, I'm worried about making sure we can pay our contractors through the bond anticipation notes. I am hopeful that we are going to get financing for these projects, especially for Jefferson, because Jefferson, good grief, Jessimine, because we've got to go, even 25 years, we've got to have an additional appropriation. So I just want to make sure that as we proceed through Phase B, that we're going to have enough to pay Phase B, because I know, if we don't get to Phase B approval, say for some reason we strike out at the General Assembly, I don't want folks to have bills that aren't paid. So Danny, I'm throwing all that out at you.
So our bands are based off of all interim cost associated with the project, before the project goes out to bid for construction. So we have accounted for the design fee for phase A, B, and C in the bond anticipation notes that have been sold already. So that money is accounted for in those bands.
And I guess, Danny, the problem becomes then what happens if the General Assembly does not provide the additional financing and we don't end up issuing bonds, because we've got to pay those bands off somehow.
Yeah. And at that point, we're either restructuring our band financing, which is an additional cost to the project, so that we're extending the maturity date on our bands, or we're, have to pay those off at some point.
Oh. And so I guess my concern would be, if we're looking at a project where we cannot achieve the financing that we need to by moving forward with a 25-year bond, I would be hesitant. I would not hesitate to recommend that this group approve the Phase A designs, but I would be hesitant to move forward really with Phase B or far into Phase B until we do have approval from the General Assembly that we are going to get additional funding.
Well, and I think, Jenny, we know that we can proceed with demolition based on the cost estimates here, right?
Correct.
And because fortunately demolition was not as expensive in this project as it was in Scott. And we could potentially proceed with demolition into phase B, know that we'd be able to pay that. And we should have some sort of answer from the General Assembly by then is what I'm thinking. So I know these were kind of the same alarms we were trying to sound just a little bit ago, but I feel like maybe folks may be understanding now the alarm bells we were trying to ring in terms of the risk.
Lori and Jenny, am I right in this conclusion? It sounds like we're more limited in options if we don't get the funding, right? Like, I think, would it be more difficult, Danny, to like limit the scope or rein in the scope of this?
Well, I will speak to, so there was a miscalculation on the program for the factored areas. And that did account for about 5,000 additional square feet. And that's reflected in that the comparison that Monica showed. We are still over that basically by about 4,000 square feet. I think we're at 59.8, I believe, Monica. So, we are over that square footage, even, if you do adjust it to the 55,000 square feet. So, at $600 a square feet, there is a large chunk of that is that, miscalculation in that square footage.
So Danny, you're saying we have about 4,000 square feet to play with if we need to reduce?
Well, that's above what the program numbers would be. Yes. But part of our ask for the General Assembly would be changing the scope to that 55,000 square foot number. So that, we would account for that square footage and the cost for that square footage and whatever requests that we're making.
And so at the $600 per square foot, 4,000 square feet is around 2.4 million.
Yeah.
And then, with that 2.4 million, to get our deficiency down, that affects the cost a little bit too. So it'd be a little more than that, but yeah, it's still doesn't quite bridge the gap, of course. And, I do want to say, we wouldn't be, just based on that schedule, the bidding out the project or the bonds. And, we've seen from that chart I showed before how much changed in a year. We're still a year away from doing that. So, rates could go up, they could go back down. Of course, in our line of work, we're very hopeful they go back down. But if the use allowance were to be increased and rates came down, it'd be just like all the other projects that we've ever done. Just because they increase the use allowance doesn't mean we're going to max it out and spend the funds. It'd be everyone's hope that construction bids come in a lot lower than what we're projecting and interest rates come in a lot lower. So.
Lori, in this case, do you feel like the similar motion that we made before, to make our approval contingent upon getting that additional financing so that it can be revisited later? Do you think that that's sufficient?
Maybe I think so. I want to make sure everybody else feels comfortable with that. I do think this project could probably, again, as we mentioned, safely proceed to demolition.
Let's get this back. Let's go back to a screen where we can see faces, because I'm wanting to see faces. We talk about this.
Chief, and I apologize. I cannot.
Well, I don't mean that. I just mean
No, I know.
Stuck on the number that.
Oh, yeah, this is good.
Is this what we're looking for? I can let someone else share if they've got better.
No, let's just go back to let's take this.
Yeah, I think if we could stop sharing, I think that's what he's looking for.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now we can have a discussion. You all remember the numbers in red, right? We don't have to go back to that. So, Libby, was your question, who asked this question?
I was just asking if the our contingency that similar to what we put in the Scott County motion, that our contingency on moving forward in phase B would be based on getting the use allowance increase, if we feel like that's sufficient here, or if there's anything else we need to consider.
No, and I think it's important to point out also that, after this committee gives Phase A approval, all other approvals moving forward for Phase B, Phase C, and then into construction would be handled through the AOC, Department of Court Facilities. So at that point, we would, if any phase of design that is ready to be presented would be presented to us for approval before we can move to the next phase.
Danny, that helps. And I think we are looking at the same motion, essentially, Libby, is what you asked. I do want to ask Monica, because no one asked this. We have designed the building right now for growth, right? And we have designed it for potentially 2 more judges than what we currently have. If I didn't see that.
That's correct.
And Danny, have we ever after phase, see, we've never been here before is the problem, but I don't recall a time that we've approved a design Phase A and then had to go back and value engineer one down in terms of size. Do you?
Not major reduction in size or space. Obviously we've tried to value engineer out of, materials, finishes, things like that, but really not space. I know, some of the components that we have that our judges have requested in this, we do have that additional family court space, family court chambers that has been requested. I think there's some additional space for conference rooms, things like that have been requested that, although those don't account for a great deal of square footage, if you add those together, I think that would be something that we would want to take into consideration.
And I think
beyond the program.
And I think that this committee, if we're pretty convinced that we need to pare the building down, then this committee can always make a motion to approve the Phase A design contingent on, removing certain aspects of the building or whatever this committee would like to do. The concern being that if we move forward and the General Assembly doesn't then provide additional funding, that if we're going to have to value engineer by reducing the scope of the building itself instead of just changing out some of the finishes, that there could be additional costs associated with that, especially with the architects having to redesign.
Yeah.
All right. So Jenny, can you help us with a motion here that would be, I think if there's an interest in moving forward, if we can, we all now are concerned about the contingencies, which it seems even more contingent in this on this project than the one we just approved before.
Right. So I think what you're looking to do is to approve the design. And there may be things, and I would defer to all of you that you would want to see changed about the designs. If there were additional things added that are not in the program, I think that that may be something you want to consider asking the architects to look at or reduce now as a part of your approval. So you could approve it contingent to removing some of those, additional rooms. And then the other contingency is, I think it needs to be contingent upon the General Assembly authorizing additional funds for this project, because we don't have the option here to go with a 25-year bond and resolve the issue.
Mm-hmm.
That enough, do you think, just to adopt what Jenny just said as our motion? Because it could be the most complicated motion in CFSC history, but I think I understood what she said.
All right. You want to make a go for it, Lori?
Oh, gosh. I will do my best, but I would like to move to approve Jessamine County Phase A design, essentially with 2 contingencies, one on financing and one also on the potential that we may need to reduce the overall square footage of the building somewhat to bring it within scope if we're not able to achieve a sufficient increase in financing. Jenny, I did not state that the way that you did, but is it essentially the same?
I think you stated it more beautifully than I did.
Oh, Jenny, you're so.
Well, if somebody would, before we lose this moment, somebody want to second it?
I'll second.
All right, I have a second. Any further discussion? I think we understand the motion of the contingencies, but if you need clarification, we can.
And
Yes,
we'll have this,
Lauren?
we have it recorded in the minutes, and we'll actually make sure that this is transcribed for everybody, these motions. Because I'm sure Monica will all have to go back and look at this maybe a couple of times, but trust me, we give you our word, we're going to work our very hardest. And I know these counties will with us this legislative session to get these funded.
Further discussion? Are you prepared to vote? You'll support the motion, raise the hand. All right, I think the motion is supported. Okay, there we go, Judge Anderson. Thank you. All right, motion is supported.
Thank you so much, Chief Justice. And
yes, sir, Judge. We're going to have, we got some work to do.
very much.
We're going to work with you. That's our commitment.
Thank you. And again, just want to thank you for your service. I want to thank the guys at AOC. I'm not brown nosing, but the AOC staff has been great, and Danny and Mark have put up with a lot from us, and they've just been stellar. So it's a pleasure to work with them.
Judge, I know exactly what you're talking about because they put up with a lot from me. So I know what you're saying. They're patient people. Thank you. Thank you. All right. This has been a long meeting, but we've got a little more ground to cover, Danny. We're down into the project status reports. First with Henry and Nicholas County.
Yeah, Chief, and I'll be quick. Regarding Henry and Nicholas County, we've been in those buildings a little over a year, actually. Things are going well for both of those. If you haven't had a chance to visit either one of those, Branstetter Carroll was the architect on Nicholas County. Those are beautiful buildings, and it seems like everybody's happy with the outcome of those. Regarding our 2020 authorized projects, Oldham County, I spoke to a little bit earlier. We just bid that project out in October. We have already undertaken quite a task there in moving the existing historic courthouse, 1875 courthouse, to its what I hope is its final location. And then we will begin, finishing the inside of that courthouse, and as well as doing a very large addition to the back of that, and quite a bit of site work. That project we anticipate that'll start either the beginning of, or probably the end of this year or the beginning of next year. Bath County, I spoke to the project that we bid out. We bid that one out in August of 2022. The total square foot cost, price per square foot, came in at $782 a square foot on that project. Obviously, that square footage, that didn't allow us, even with the 25-year bond option, to fit that project in to the use allowance. So we've put that project on hold until we can go back to the General Assembly and request additional funding. We do feel that the bidding climate may be better when we rebid this, because we will have to rebid it after we get General Assembly authorization to do so. But we anticipate doing that after the General Assembly has made that determination. We are working on a site demolition package there. Believe that one came in at $89,000 as well. So, not a huge amount, not as much demolition as we have in Scott County for sure. Barron County, we have option to purchase agreements in place on 3 different parcels. One of which is a Dollar General store building. The other is a city-owned vacant property. And then there's a water company building that has been vacated for some time. We will combine all of those properties. It's just over 3 acres, I believe. I don't have the exact square footage in front or the acreage in front of me, but we hope to have those, the majority of those projects closed and acquired by the end of this year. And schematic design will start on those now that we have the properties acquired. Butler County, land acquisition is in process. The site survey has been completed on the site that has been selected. And we are working to get easements in place for the site that is located on Smith Street and West Ohio Street in Butler County. Clinton County is in basically the same situation with that one. We are working on a schematic design there. We have purchased properties on Cross Street and Clay Street. And we will be closing on those projects the first week in January, or those properties. Crittenden County, we are building on the existing site. So we are working to vacate the existing courthouse, which is a 1960 structure. We will raise that structure to make way for the new judicial center. We anticipate that will go out to bid early 2023, probably February or March. We'll see, what our construction costs do at that point. That is a general contractor is how that project is bidding out. And then we have the Madison County Courthouse renovation and addition. We are getting ready to go out to bid for that one. We anticipate bidding early January of 2023, and that will be a renovation to the complete courthouse, as well as a 17,000 square foot addition to the back of that building. Any questions on any of those? And I will add the most recently authorized projects, Leslie County and Graves County. Leslie County, we have had our initial PDB meeting with the PDB. We are advertising for architect in the coming weeks. And Graves County, we're working on forming the board so that we can start to meet there.
Okay. Questions for Danny or comments on the project updates? No? All right. We're down to the item on the agenda says other discussion. So is there other discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion too, Chief.
All right, Laurie. I don't think anybody's going to oppose it either.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for your work today. This has been really a learning session for some of us. It's a good exercise, and I appreciate your work. So with nothing more to come before the committee will stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.